welcome to episode 45 of the True to Life podcast. Today I'm joined with Zaire, current O-lineman with the UC Davis squad over there, right in Sacramento, pretty much, or close in proximity. So really excited to have Zaire with us here today. His and my history kind of go back. We battled each other back in middle school with hoop. We were also on a 3-on-3 basketball squad too in high school. So we've had a little bit of a basketball career going back and forth, but really cool to sit down and connect with him and talk to him about his journey into the football world. And really excited to hear your journey and hear your stories. So Zaire, thank you so much for joining.
Thank you for having me, man. I appreciate this. Our history does go back pretty far now you bring it up, going from, rivals to teammates. Now here
Yeah,
we are both on the podcast, man. It's pretty cool. So
dude, it's
I'm
really
excited.
exciting. Absolutely. So, starting out with basketball, like what inspired you to, make the turn and go all in with football? Just kind of talk about your journey with sports thus far.
So like growing up, I was always a hooper at heart, and then I want to say around eighth grade, you played me, I was around like 6'3", 300 something pounds in eighth grade.
The
So
scout
around
was
then I
tough.
really
The scout was
yeah.
tough.
So around then I kind of realized that like basketball and my frame didn't align. Like I always played football around this time, but this is really when my love for football really started to take over. I was kind of split in between two sports. And the transition was pretty smooth because being a larger guy on the basketball court, it always helped with my footwork, my athletic capabilities, IQ, just being in space. You know what I mean? And then transition to football, now you're saying I don't have to do as much in space. So, it only helps me out. But that transition was huge. I think it was, I wish I could have played in high school for basketball, but it was a huge transition for me. And it just, it kind of got me to where I'm at today athletically. So I feel like basketball 100% helped me in other areas of life, and especially in football.
So all of high school was where you made the complete pivot to football, and like that was like the main focus going into high school.
Yep.
For
Yep.
sure.
Yep. So I went to Antelope, tried to play basketball over the summer, and this was around, my class. We have Bronny and, Mikey Williams and all them. So a lot of guys were dunking at an early age, and I can't really jump that high. So I made the transition to football. Was fortunate enough with Coach Matt Ray at Antelope, pulled me up to varsity as a freshman first year. And then I was kind of, I don't want to say that's when I knew, I kind of had a career in this, but it most definitely sparked something in me. So,
No, absolutely. I mean, I think the transition too. I also want to speak to the recruiting aspect with football. So how was that? You're at high school. I mean, were you getting recruited in high school, or was it the combines term? What was that like?
I want to say freshman year, sophomore year, sophomore year was COVID, but freshman year, sophomore year, I had some looks from some schools going in. Obviously I came onto the spot as a big guy, moving from Turlock to Sacramento, kind of in a way spawned in to, the 916. But around junior year, had a lot of looks, went to a lot of camps. Recruiting was tough just because a lot of people have used my height against me, which is crazy. Being 6'3" is considered, average to small. But I never really like let that get in the way. But I did get recruited, moderately junior year, senior year. Then after that, some things didn't work out. Went technically a JUCO route for a little bit with Coach O and Coach Barnes and the staff at ARC, American River College. Did workouts there. Did summer, and then Coach Cody at UC Davis had kind of came back to me. They had actually, it's a funny story with Davis. They had actually wanted to offer me my junior year, but unfortunately I couldn't make it to the camp. So I went to UNLV for a camp, had an official visit with them, and it all worked out. But Davis, he pretty much came back to me and during the summer is like, we want you. We have a spot, full ride and all that. So here I am. So
I mean,
I'm
that's
loving it.
amazing. Yeah, coming around full circle like that. I mean, it all happens for a reason. Like the development for you at ARC. I mean, finishing out your senior year. I mean, I think it all comes around full circle at the end of the day.
100%. So like that was a big thing for me was, keeping faith through that whole thing. So I want to say my senior year was like a big, big learning moment for me. Like for myself, my family, and just like faith, really, really got tested that year.
No, no doubt. So I mean, even just speaking to today, for example, like we were texting back and forth a little bit. What does a typical training week day like look like at the Division 1 level? I mean, you were at the facility today. It's obviously like a full-time job. So for the student athletes listening, like, paint the picture, like Division 1 football, like what does that look like?
So right now we're in the summer, so it's not as heavy right now. We're getting ready for fall camp, but typically, depending on the day, we'll have an early meeting around 6, 7 o'clock in the morning. We have an early meeting that goes right into a speed slash conditioning circuit. It's about 45 minutes to an hour. Then right from there, you go to a lift, and that's just the summer part. So we're pretty much there from 7 to 11, 7 to 12 every morning, and then, but like during the season, it's pretty much, workout or your meeting, practice, workout, meeting again, class. So like a typical day, you're there 6, 7 o'clock in the morning to around 12, 1 o'clock in the afternoon, but you're consistently on campus for football. That's just football alone. And then for
Yeah,
us at Davis, like a top 5 school in the country, the academics are no joke. So that's another 5+ hours you're spending on academics. So, and fall camp, obviously, for those who don't know, fall camp will test you no matter where you're at at the D1 level for football. You're pretty much there, 12 hours a day, there from 6 to 6. We're fortunate to get a good schedule for fall camp, 2 different meetings, get a little break in there, practice early in the morning, avoid the heat. So, but it's a grind. I'll say this for the
of
young student
course.
athletes that want to aspire to be a D1 football player. It's a grind, but it really shows it'll tell a lot about yourself and how much you love the sport. You can't just wake up and do this as if it's a job. Like I don't look at this as a job. This is something I'm passionate and I love to do. So I enjoy doing it.
Hmm.
So
No, absolutely. So, I mean, speaking to the demand that football on the athletic side has, but also UC Davis being in the UC system, they obviously have a rigorous course load. Academics are very important as well. So, what do you have in place for yourself to make sure that you keep the academics up on par, in addition to your sport?
the biggest thing that I think a lot of people don't talk about at these schools, or at least in my opinion, that are emphasized enough, are the resources provided to you. Here at Davis, we're fortunate enough to have, I don't want to say limited, but pretty close, to that number and resources where there are people that are on campus that are paid to care about you for 4 to 5 years. And in some cases longer, but in general, you have 4 to 5 years where of your life where people solely care about you and your success, which isn't typical once you get out of college. So that's the biggest thing for me is just like even after practice, taking care of the body, then going to class, and then also not forgetting that the student part comes first. If you're not, eligible, you obviously can't play. You're not an athlete if you ain't eligible. So just
Student becomes first.
using
Yeah. Student
resource.
athlete second.
Yeah,
Yeah.
school comes first. So just using the resources, tutors. There's programs here, clubs, there's study groups. Just using resources, getting out the dorm or getting out the house, and just pretty much networking. There's not there's not too many answers here, or not too many questions here on campus that can't be answered. So that's the biggest thing for me, just using my resources.
No, absolutely. I mean, obviously, in addition to the resources, there has to be some level of personal organization of your schedule.
Yep.
Um, I mean, you probably have so many things throughout the day. I mean, how are you prioritizing, your mental health and well being at the end of the day too? I mean, what goes into that for the preparation?
For me, I kind of look at like the school year as a marathon. You know what I mean? It's not like I'm not gonna pass the class in one day, but I'm also not gonna fail it in one day. So
Facts.
like for me, like a day to day, like I have my time set aside for football, off the bat. That's non-negotiable. And then for class, I have that. I'll study, but I try my best to find things to get my mind away from it. Because, on a week to week basis, you're spending, I mean, I don't know how many hours in a week, but you're spending 75% of it in school and football alone. So the other
Absolutely.
25, yeah, the other 25% I'm spending either playing basketball, working out. I started getting into journaling, just
Mm.
kind of writing out some things I want to see happen in life. Um,
Podcasting.
just going for, yeah, podcasting, like you just have to find something outside the sport to keep you mentally right, because when you become one dimensional, even outside of sports, the sport or even academics becomes your lifestyle and your personality. So you just want to be diverse. So that's the biggest thing for me. I've been writing a lot, walking, and just getting my mind. I do little things to get my mind away from football. So when I get back to football, I'm all the way there to put my all into it. So
I think that's so important to find that balance. And the balance, especially for student athletes, doesn't have to be, is never going to be 50-50. Balance is not a thing that is even 50-50. Balance can be anything as long as it works. It can be 90-10, 95-5. It can be
exactly.
75-25. It can be whatever works for you in that moment. Just making sure that you are having a counterweight to what you're putting a lot of time into. Otherwise, you will, burn out, or you're not going to enjoy it as much anymore. So finding things to help
Yep.
bring you back to even a little bit of a level or provide a little bit of that counterweight, like I said, really helps a
Yep.
lot. And you speaking to that, I mean, it makes sense. It's the only way. It's really the only way to have a long collegiate career. And then even if you want to go forward after that, so important.
100%.
Reflecting back on your football career or even on your hoops career, if you want to, what has been the most memorable moment or game that sticks out to you, and why?
That's a tough one. I would say for football, most recently was senior year against Doro. It was semifinals.
Mm,
They're our rival, so they beat us in the regular season pretty bad. And I don't want to say it was my best game, but it was pretty close. There was a drive where I had, I think, like 6 or 7 straight pancake blocks. For those who don't know, it's putting somebody on their back half. So I was pretty dominant, and then just like the way we play as a team, just can't. That's like the perfect encompass of what like the team sport, especially football, is to have be out there with your boys and perform at a elite level and have fun doing it. Like I can't get that back. So that was the most memorable one so far. And then on the basketball stage, really everything. I don't think for me basketball was just fun in general. Like in the time I played, it just was like I was just out there hooping, so it
yeah.
was always fun for me.
Don't bring up the eighth grade championship. I still have nightmares. Just kidding.
Yeah, it's for those who don't know, he actually had came. I believe you. I forgot what you guys ran, but I was on the block. I see you open in the corner.
Dude,
I think they gave it to you. Game on. We're down. We're up by 2. He's best shooter by far. I remember me and my boy. We both run out there screaming. Don't even care about who's down low to contest. I think he hits. I think you hit like back rim or something. Like it
it
wasn't a
was
bad
tragic.
miss.
It was tragic.
It was,
It
and it
pops
was
up.
like,
One of the worst part is someone on our team grabs a rebound, smokes the layup. We could have tied it. We would have gone to OT. He smokes the layup. Y'all win. And I mean,
pod goes out.
hey, it's how the cookie
Man,
crumbles
and it
sometimes. It
it
went
was
out.
it
Yeah,
was it was one of those moments where I see you in the corner and I just say, "Oh no!"
dude, that was
And you know me, I never play on the perimeter like that. So like I legit ran from the block, screaming to that corner, just praying you missed,
dude,
and
even your
it
coach
worked
is
out.
like, I thought our season was done.
Yeah, it was.
Oh
Yeah,
boy. Oh, that's
that's
fun.
that was a fun one. Not gonna lie, that was a fun
No,
one.
no doubt. All right, so now pivoting, talking about some challenges and growth that you've experienced over the years. What would you say has been the biggest challenge? Obviously pivoting from basketball to football, but maybe speaking like within football. You did already talk about the height thing, but if there's anything else that kind of sticks out that you've had to overcome, what would that be?
For me, I like to say that my biggest like strong suit can also be my biggest weakness, and that's
Mm,
my self like criticism. I feel like a lot of times I can be hard on myself, which is a good thing,
yeah,
like I have a certain standard and expectation for myself that succeeds a lot of people's of mine, but at the same time I can get really hard on myself, which I think was a big struggle for me, and like as I went through my career, I got better at it, and a lot like again my senior year and kind of when I got here at Davis, like I learned a lot about myself, and just like keeping faith and just understanding why everything's happening. Like you're not like for me, there's a moment where I'm like I was struggling practice here and there, but I'm like my career's not going to be over because
yeah,
of 5 days out of the last 12 I've put in 12 years I've put into the sport. So like just little things like that, and just getting my head back on straight, and allowing myself to not fail but to learn in my mistakes and build back from it. So I think that was the biggest challenge for me.
And absolutely. And what I immediately thought of when you were speaking to that on the athletic side was same point that you brought up in the classroom is one bad game isn't going to end your career. Just like, failing one, test it won't fail you in the whole class. It's about the entirety of the class or the entirety of a season. You can't be tied up to one game or one test, right? It's
Yep.
looking at it from the top down, like a more broad scale. And I feel like that approach alone is obviously going to take you a far way. Like, look at you right now. So,
I appreciate that. Like you look, if you even look at the greats in like every sport, there's a pivotal moment early in their career where they, you either go to like LeBron getting swept or his struggles in Cleveland before he left, MJ getting cut, Brady being the late round pick.
mm,
He could have easily been like, oh, I'm a sixth, seventh round pick. I'm not gonna, I guess I'll just ride the bench. And now here he is. So,
it's the
you know,
response.
it's the response to these challenges and your mistakes. So
So, I mean, obviously, overcoming challenges on your own is one thing, but it does help to have, a good team culture and obviously people to help support you. Can you speak to what the environment's like at UC Davis? What is the support like, your team atmosphere, and how does that help in your success on and off the field?
it may sound cliche, but I know a lot of teams like to preach that we operate like a family.
Yeah.
But here at Davis, it's real. Like we joke, the coaching staff, it can be the head coach, it can be the intern or whoever, and you can all have a genuine conversation, joke and laugh. Like I know a lot of teams, you can walk into a room and there's almost a sense of a hierarchy. And I've said this like on numerous occasions that like here at there's no hierarchy. You can be a freshman coming in next week and be extremely close with the coach and our head coach, Coach Plow, and still have that connection and not feel like he's belittling you or what I mean, not feel underneath anyone. You know what I'm saying? So that's the biggest thing here at Davis is that like Davis as a whole and then Davis as like a team, we're so connected that there's no issues in power, I should say, or
Mm.
any of that. We all have one goal in mind and we're all doing it together instead of one guy's gonna make the play. It's nah, we're all gonna get there. So I think that's the biggest thing. We operate as a thriving family.
No, I think that's huge. I mean, to have positive team culture, I mean, definitely helps make the difference. So speaking to obviously you wouldn't have got to where you are without having goals in place. Obviously, you spoke about, journaling and starting to put things down on paper. So what are your current, both short-term and long-term goals as you look forward to the next, your career now at Davis?
Well, I don't want to share my all my goals. I do have some things going on. Like I
Of
want
course.
to as far as nonprofit, I want to start my own nonprofit. I have that in the works right now. The podcast is growing, so that's going good. As far as football, obviously playing this year is the main goal. Coming off my redshirt year, so getting that going and but yeah, I got a lot of things to manifest. I don't want to put it
No, of
out in
course.
the universe online, but I'm happy where I'm at right now.
Yeah, if you have it internally, I mean, I think even what you shared, continuing to work on that 25%. So like the podcast, obviously, and work on those other things, I feel is equally as important because at the end of the day, sport doesn't go forever. So to have those things that you're working on, the
Yep.
nonprofit, so you have other things that you're building right now, I think is very important for student athletes because it makes the transition from our sport to the I don't want to say real world, but the from our sport into life without sports a lot easier
No,
when we have other things to
I,
lean on.
I I would say it's the real world because with football, like with sports, I mean,
Yeah,
you know how it is. We wake up, we're on a consistent schedule, 24/7.
100%.
You know what I mean? People are there caring for us. We got people doing massages, giving us water and all that. Real world, you're on your own schedule. Things can change in an instant. Like, this summer, like I just found out about housing and stuff and leases and timing and
Dude, I just
economy.
signed a
Like you're
lease
learning
too.
stuff
I'm
like
moving out
that.
August 1st. Like it's
Yeah,
I'm starting to feel a little bit of the heat's cooking up just
exactly.
a little
Like
bit. Like time's coming.
exactly. Like, your coach or your trainer ain't gonna sign the lease for you. And
Yeah.
so it's one of those like moments. But like as you speak to it, like being because when sports ends, I think a lot of like athletes, student athletes struggle like identity crisis after the sport's over.
Mm-hmm.
So like the best advice I can like do is like figure out more about yourself while you're playing, and it makes that transition so much easier because you don't need to abandon your sport, because a lot of the traits that we learn during sport carries over into the business realm, into the real world, how you operate within a team, how you operate within social environments, work ethic, all that incorporates. It's just finding out how you can incorporate it outside of your sport is the biggest thing.
100%. And I think encouraging student athletes, obviously, like sports are going to be it's going to be the top priority, obviously, in high school and getting to college. And obviously, you want to have the, successful college career. Like that is the goal and dream for all of us. But the reality of the situation is there's only, a handful of people at the college level that go on to really continue playing their sports after college. So usually college is, for the most part, college is like the cap for most. So yeah, starting to realize and think about those other things, I think is super important. And the more that us as student athletes in college can help, share that message and get it out there, I think is really important.
Yeah, a big thing is when you get to college, for those who are fortunate enough to play at this level, and just get to this level, is you have to understand that you are like the position you're in. There's a lot of people who would do a lot to get to where you're at.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people who would love to switch in your position. So while you're there, take advantage of the resources, take advantage and like embrace where you're at. Don't like, oh, I'm just gonna be here for 4 or 5 years and da da da. Like I'm
Own
here
it.
for 4 or 5 years. Yeah, I'm here for 4 or 5 years to set up my next 40, so I can
Mm,
live life and have fun. So that's the biggest thing. Like student athletes, I think a lot of people like forget that when they get to this level and they kind of belittle the situation. You know what I mean? Like after high school, especially if you're going to college or if you're going into like a job, you have to like embrace where you're at. Understand the opportunity you have because not everyone has it.
yeah, retweet on that. I love it. So now you're talking about some advice for, high schoolers that are in the football world right now. What if you're speaking directly to them? What is your advice for them if they want to compete collegiately?
Just keep working. That's the main thing. Keep working and have faith. I think those are the two biggest things because it's one of those like I experienced it. My senior year, my junior year was like it's not always gonna show up right then and there. Like even with me, like when UC Davis had, they wanted to offer me before I went to the UNLV camp. Unfortunately, I went to UNLV camp. Then the whole year, like, oh, no one's gonna, pull the trigger. Da, da, da. And just like having faith in how things worked out, and now I'm where I need to be here at Davis. So that's like the biggest thing is like when you're in high school, if you're trying to recruit or just like if you already like, kind of know where you're going, keep working. And again, I don't want to harp on it, but embrace where you're at and build on that. You have to like a big thing for me is you have to understand where you're at and how you're going to build on that. Obviously, your school and then on the field is cool, but then like networking as well. A lot of this like recruiting and a lot of getting to like the next level and while you're here is also a lot about who you know on top of how you perform.
Mm-hmm.
It's you have to have a lot of things stacked on top of each other for things to go, what I mean, accordingly. And that's just in life, but there you go.
No, absolutely. So now pivoting more to some personal side of things. What do you do to, unwind, relax? Like in other than that 25, you mentioned journaling. What else helps you get like that mental reset, like away from football?
A lot of times after practice, it's funny for me. I've been so indulged in football that my break away from football is playing college football. NCAA, just came out, so that's something I started doing. Cooking, just learning. Cause I'm
In
not
the
on my
kitchen.
own, but like, yeah, out the kitchen, sleeping, a lot of meditation, a lot of relaxation.
What's your favorite
Just
dish to
like a
cook right now?
man, it's gonna sound like a struggle meal, but I've been I've been doing a lot of ground beef, well, seasoned ground beef with some diced potatoes, fried potatoes. Then I do a sunny side up egg over the top,
That
so
sounds
the yolk can
delicious.
break. So the yolk can break, a little cheese on the top, a little ketchup, a little hot sauce on the side. Might get a little avocado toast on there, so I get a little bit of everything on there.
Mm.
Might sprinkle in some spinach while I cook the ground beef, so I get my veggies in there. So but that's been like what I've been. That's like my go-to right now, just because it fills me up and I get like everything I need to operate.
Yeah,
So.
Yeah, so I'll be living off campus, this next year. So like cooking my own food is something I'm actually really excited to do. Number one, because I get to control my diet. What's going in my body
Yeah,
is super important. So that's something I've been started to preach on the show a little bit more about nutrition. And I'm going to be documenting like my cooking journey, because nutrition is obviously so important. Like, do you guys have like
huge.
nutrition coaches at UC
We have
Davis?
a
I'm curious.
we actually have a nutritionist right now, Rachel. She's actually at the Olympics right
Oh
now.
wow,
I don't know if she's doing the nutrition for them or she's learning. I don't know the situation there,
still.
but she's been huge when I first got here, kind of guiding me on like how to operate the foods that are best for me because everyone's body's different.
Hmm.
And a lot of things she had told me, like you have to listen to your body. You know what I mean? And you have to understand the timing and understanding how your body operates. Like for me, I may not be able to eat the same as a receiver who can eat,
Of course,
XYZ at 2 o'clock. I may be someone who eats, this and that at 3:30 and waits till 6 and then eat something before I go to bed because that's how my body operates and what I need because my input to output, like it's just a lot of it's understanding who you are, and also again, shout out to Rachel. She also one bad meal isn't gonna, make you gain 6 pounds.
it's true.
It's and that's just in life. Just like one good meal is not gonna consider you eating healthy. So that's been the biggest thing I learned from her. But we do have
Consistency.
nutritionists. Yeah, consistency. Like we have nutritionists, and then like they not harp on us, but they get on us about eating right, not strictly, but like it's important, so just keep the main thing, and prioritizing that.
No doubt. Who have been the biggest role models, mentors, and coaches in you that have helped, build the player that you are today? I mean, I'd love for you to give some shout outs, even kind of speak to obviously our coaching network that have got us where obviously I have so much gratitude to all the coaches that have poured into me. So, I mean, I can't even
Yeah.
imagine how many you've got as well.
Well, first, it's my parents. So for me, above all, it's my parents, both my mom and dad. Kind of that yin and yang. My dad's more of how come you didn't work out this morning. My mom is too, but different in different ways, and I love that. Like they legit have built me into who I am today. Like a lot of compliments I may give or a lot of praise I may get, it's all because of them.
Hmm.
Them and then obviously the man up above are my two, or those are three in my opinion. So this is three that kind of biggest influences. I've had a lot of coaches that have helped me as well. Coach Catalico, both on and off the field at Granite Bay. Coach Matt Ray, Coach Reginald Harris at Endercom. Matt Ray when he was at Antelope, now he's at Granite Bay. Coach Jason Taylor from AAU for the NorCal Spartans. He
Yeah.
kind of got me in there. And then it's funny, Coach John Williams at Lycan, this is where I went to school. We
Yeah.
played the head coach there. He actually got me into basketball, playing organized basketball, which led to me playing AAU with NorCal Spartans, which led to me getting to play at Granite Bay,
Look
which
at
led to
that.
me getting into the football realm here. And then, a lot of things lined up. And the coach at Granite Bay that I played for in U football is a UC Davis alum.
Connections.
So it all worked out. But I need to give him a lot more credit because the more I say it, the more it's like he kind of kickstarted everything. So shout out Coach John.
That's dope. Do you have any closing remarks before we go to rapid fire questions on anything else you'd like to leave with our audience?
No, just keep faith and just keep working. Understand who you are, and embrace the moment. This is a life is a special thing we get to all live. Not everyone gets to do it. So just embrace where you're at.
I love it. All right. For our rapid fire questions, you spoke to one of your meals, but do you have a specific pregame meal and what is your go to?
Pregame meal like last couple years. Usually it's a team meal that we do, but I've been on the big on like the pasta and
Hmm.
spaghetti with a little meat in there, a little veggies. So that's like always been my go-to pregame. Just
Love it.
usually because
Uh,
that's what I've had available.
yeah, I mean, pasta, I mean, is one of the staples. So, I mean,
Yep.
got to. If you could have dinner with any athlete, past, present, uh, who would it be?
LeBron. LeBron James. That's my
LeBron
guy. That's
James.
my favorite athlete. Yeah. LeBron or Cam Newton. Those were two of my biggest influences growing up.
Quick side note: what are your thoughts on Bronny? Just gave you a quick spiel.
I give him time. He'll be all right. I think he's gonna be good. Just give him time.
I think the media has been way too harsh on the matter. I feel like 55th pick, like just let it sit. I mean, obviously it's also LeBron
Yep.
James too, and it's not like he can't
Yeah.
play basketball. Like just let it all sit. I
Not
agree.
everyone's gonna be his dad.
People are just looking for clickbait at this point in this current
Yep.
media space, so I think people need to relax.
Yep.
Okay, if you were to make a my player, what position on the football field would you pick for yourself?
I mean, I gotta stay with like guard or center on O line. I love playing O line. It's a different mentality. But I would put quarterback as well. So yes,
Yeah.
I would put quarterback as well.
Oh, that's awesome. Yo, Zaire, thank you so much. You dropped a lot, gave us an insight into the Division One from the football world and speaking to, your look on life and all that. So I really do appreciate you and your time, coming on the show today. Thank you so much. Like I really, carving the time out of your busy schedule. I really appreciate it. With that, I'd like to bring this episode to a close. Please subscribe on all available platforms and follow at True to Life Podcast. I look
Go
forward to
subscribe.
he's subscribed. Also, everything for Zaire is going to be available in the description. His links to his show and all that is going to be in there. So make sure to tap in with him as well. Thank you so much, and we'll be back here next time.
Thank you.